Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today, continuing Depthcember, we are doing a little bit of mono-white depths. So this is a deck I played a few times at previous Depthcembers and it's always a good laugh. So, the combo here is Solemnity, players can't get counters, counters can't be put on artifacts, creatures, enchantments or lands. So, we have this in play, we play Dark Depths, instant 2020, pretty nice. So we're putting this into an enchantment-based shell here. So we've got ourselves a whole bunch of horrible things for our opponents to deal with. So Rest in Peace, Stony Silence, Rude Halo, Deafening Silence, and then we have the Phyrexian Unlife Solemnity combo, because if we're playing Dark Depth Solemnity, we may as well get a little bit more juice out of it. So these two cards mean that we basically can't lose the game to damage. We've got some Leyline of Sanctity, which can come in and stop us from getting targeted by stuff. We can have this on turn 1, which pumps up our Serra Sanctum, because we're very much trying to leverage our Serra Sanctum. And we sometimes get into a situation where we tap in this for enough mana to be ripping quite a few counters off of this in some situations. We have this little enchantment you may have heard of called Urza's Saga. It's pretty strong. And this powers up our Serra Sanctum. What we can do is we can have the Urza's Saga, put it on 2, and then play a Solemnity. And then it'll never get any more counters, so we'll just stay at the construct making thing and just we can pummel out a load of guys that way. We've got a decent chunk of removal here. We've got Ossification, we've got On Thin Ice, just a whole bunch of tools here. A really clean mana base of all these snow-covered plains. A couple of Thespian stages to go with the Dark Depths for when that does become a thing. And a couple of little things to find off of our Urza Saga. I only wanted one with an activated ability because we are playing 2 Stony Silence in the main, which makes sense given the power of Mystic Forge right now. As for our sideboard, we've just got some different tools we can lean on. So if we want more moats, we can do that. More Stony Silence, more Rest in Peace, more removal. Another win condition in the Court of Grace. We've already got a couple of those in the main. We've got the Oblivion Ring as a flexible answer, a couple more Rude Halos for when that's useful, and then Deafening Silence, and then 1 Auramancy. We've got an Idyllic Tutor in our main deck as well, so we can tutor up any of these pieces we need at any given time. And that is the end of the deck tech, so please remember to like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, it does help the channel out quite a lot. And if you want to see my videos early, you can become a YouTube member for £1 a month and do exactly that. Alright, let's start jamming some mono-white depths. Okay, this is our first hand. We've got some defensive tools. Phyrexian Unlife can just be gain 10 life sometimes as well. We've got a little plan with this Saga. I think we're going to give it a whirl. And keep this. Play out our Deafening Silence. That's good against a fair few decks in the format right now. Combo is pretty hype right now, so having something that can reduce people's ability to combo isn't a bad place to be. This swamp doesn't really tell us that much. Let's play a Deafening Silence. See if this jams up our opponent. So we don't really know what they are. They could be Reanimator, they could be some sort of Storm combo deck, they could be a Helm combo. There's a lot of different options based on just seeing a swamp here. An Ancient Tomb, a Dark Ritual, so they have to cast a creature here. Opposition Agent, okay. We have an answer for this anyway. Put my Saga, that's On Thin Ice, their creature, because we want our Saga to be able to gain us some advantage when it pops, and we also want to be able to use our mana to make a construct next turn. Lotus Petal. Yeah, we're really jamming our opponent up with this Deafening Silence. Shouldered the Apocalypse. Sure. Another Plains is not really where we want to be here. So Phyrexian Unlife is a card that our opponent is unlikely to be able to answer. And life loss is not... we lose life, but we ignore the damage. All right, Effective Wobble, that's fine. So they're going to make this little friend attack us. We're going to take a big chunk of damage. But we can just play the Moat and sit behind if we want to. I don't know if our opponent can beat Moat Phyrexian Unlife, to be honest with you. Right, there's a Saga. Serra's Sanctum. It's unfortunate. So we have 4 mana here. So we have 2 enchantments in play. So if we activate this for the Urza Saga, we have 2 enchantments in play. So this will tap for 2 mana. So it won't be enough to deploy the Unlife or the Moat here. So I think I'm just going to make a mana off of this one. And then we'll go and get the Expedition map. So we'll play out our Sanctum here. Let's cast this Moat. And then we can go and get Dark Depths, which has flying, so works around the Moat quite nicely. Once we get the Phyrexian Unlife in, we don't care about losing life. Leyline of the Void. Okay, so our opponent is a Helm combo deck, sure. This doesn't bother us. Idyllic Tutor. So play this out. Cast this. Tap this for a bunch. Oh, we don't get to cast everything we want here, do we? We'll crack this. This will go and find us a Dark Depths, I think. Just have that in the bank for when we need it. And a mono black deck is basically Stone Cold Lock what we have here. Because the life loss is not going to matter to us. We can end up on minus 100 life and it won't make a difference. Phyrexian Bauble, sure. It's just going to be a redraw. You can gain all that extra life, opponent. It does mean we have to hit them twice with the Dark Depths, which could be awkward, but we do have another token. So Shoulder's Edict is not going to be the one. Okay. So we only get to play one spell because of our own Deafening Silence. Let's go and get Solemnity. So next turn we can make a 20/20. They can tutor for an enchantment, but I doubt they have an enchantment that matters. That's what the Doughty Voidwalker can enable our opponent to do. But we just jam a Solemnity, play the Ossification. There is a little bit of counter synergy with the Deafening Silence and the Serra Sanctum. We get a load of mana, but we can play one thing a turn. But again, that's not really a problem. Because once we've got our stuff up and running, we should just be alright. Let's make our Solemnity. Let's make our Dark Depths. Alright. Let's pass it over. Our friend said neat. I'm glad you appreciate it, opponent. Now we can start using our Ossification to remove our opponent's creatures. Necrodominance. Okay. That's an interesting one, because they only get to play one spell a turn. Or one non-creature spell. So they're going to go down to one here, draw a whole bunch of cards, and try and find whatever their out is here. They're gaining a lot of life. So we're going to have to hit them multiple times with our Marit Lage. Let's see what they clean up. These cards go into exile once they have Necrodominance in play. Also, you can Helm of Obedience into a Necrodominance, which is kind of interesting. Because this is the same as the Leyline for themselves. So I think we probably Ossification away their Shieldred. They probably just have another one at this point though. I don't know how the black deck is supposed to beat these enchantments. Necrodominance, Leyline, okay. Right, we go to attacks. Bash for 20. Okay, Thespian stage. Am I getting rid of this Shieldred, or am I getting rid of one of these Douthies? What do I have in exile underneath the Douthie right now? Nothing because of their Leyline. Okay, that's fine. So, do I want just another Phyrexian Unlife, just in case? I think we just take out the Shieldred here. So 2 more swings with our Marit Lage. Certainly more swings than I was expecting to have to do. Helm of Obedience. That can work, can't it? We knew this was coming. Actually, we needed to find our Leyline, really. Do I want our opponent to see our deck? I don't think so. Let's begin sideboarding. So the Ossification doesn't hit enchantments, in case you're wondering why I didn't try and go for the thing to stop that. Alright, Runed Halo, these seem useful. I don't mind having an Oblivion Ring. The Moat seems great against all of their creatures. I don't want Rest in Peace because that helps their combo out, so we take out our Rest in Pieces. Stony Silence, obviously pretty useful here. It stops like one of the things our opponent has that can beat us. Greater Auramancy, probably unnecessary. Journey to Nowhere and Ossification have merit here. I don't think we need the Court of Grace. So what do we not need? I don't actually think we need these Deafening Silence. They did slow our opponent down, but I don't think that's how we're winning this game most of the time. Phyrexian Unlife, Solemnity is obviously an absolute banger here. Court of Grace, I think we need to at least have access to Court of Grace so we can win the game that way. So at the moment, how many cards of these do we get in? We get 5 of these cards. So 2 Runed Halo, 2 Stony Silence, and an Ossification. No, I think the Moat's better than Ossification, isn't it? We still want this Ossification somehow though. How are we going to fit that in? We could take out our Expedition map if we're boarding in all of these Stony Silences just to get this other Ossification in. Do we want another one, or do you want this? I think the Oblivion Ring is better than the Ossification here, isn't it? Because it hits anything. The Rune Haler doesn't stop us losing to Shouldered, but the Phyrexian Unlife does. Okay, I think this is probably enough. I think our deck should be heavily favoured here. It's just the one card they have that really jams us up. Okay, we'll keep this. So this is a hand that will not lose 2 Helm combo, unless they turn 1 Helm combo us. Okay, we're just going to get the Stony Silence down now and not mess around with it. Opponent might have something like the 2 mana thing that blows up an enchantment and you lose life. I've just forgotten the name of. Feed the Swarm, that's the one. I'll play a Serra Sanctum here. And we can just start making some guys here. Opposition Agent is something that can take our Pithing Needle, which doesn't really stop what our deck does. It's the only thing they can find now. Ancient Tomb, you say. Does feel like we're going to get Opposition Agented. But that's okay. Here comes the Oppo. Yep, this is not flash, so we will just lose our Pithing Needle here. So they can shut down future Urza Sagas. We do have an Oblivion Ring. That can help here. Do I think our opponent has a Planeswalker in their deck? I do not believe they do. But I think we should still just use the more efficient removal here, because we have another one. So our opponent's Pithing Needle here is very good, because they can shut this down. So our Solemnity plan, if we can get it up and running. Alright, so we just got a fatal push on our guy. I feel pretty comfortable in this slot. We've got lots of answers to what our opponent's doing. And we could have had something like Spirit of the Labyrinth, sorry, in the deck has a way of answering like mass card draw, but I don't think that's necessary. Pithing Needle. You're going to name Urza Saga. We could name Thespian Stage if that's what they're worried about more though. Urza Saga, sure. A Necro Dominance. Okay. How many cards would you like, opponent? It's going to be minimum 2, because that'll take up to 5 cards in hand. Right, I just took a big whack. Sure. Let's see what they discard here. So we could be running some plows in here that we should have helped with the opposition agent situation, but we're trying to lean into the synergies and make our Serra Sanctum really pop off. But maybe that's excessive. We don't need to do that because we don't have huge top end. I did have a build that had Sacred Mesa in, so you could funnel all your Serra Sanctum mana into making lots of Pegasi. A Bind off a Helm. We'll name Helm of Obedience. Every point of damage here matters. 4 mana. I will have a Phyrexian Unlife, please. We don't get to tutor anything with our Saga because there's nothing left to tutor. An Urborg. I don't think that impacts our opponent other than just being +1 mana. I guess it can turn off the Ancient Tomb, actually, that's kind of a big deal. But 4 is kind of where they have their stuff, their big plays. A Doughty Voidwalker, sure. A Hymn to Turak, goodbye, our hand. Sure. These don't go under the Doughty because there's the Leyline. This 1/1 can still attack. How many cards would you like, opponent? You can have 5 cards if you like. I'd appreciate if you took 5. Right, I took 3. So you should kind of know if they're dead or not here. Oppo agent, we don't have anything. They get to see the card in our hand and that's about it. What am I putting this Rune Haler on? I'm going to put it on Doughty Voidwalker because I can actually block the other one. And if I'm removing any of them, I want to remove the opposition agent. Okay. Our opponent doesn't have many cards left. This means if our opponent wants to deal us damage, they have to attack with the opposition agent. And they've only got 3 cards to win the game with. Potentially 4, they can draw 1 card off of the Necro. I have to imagine they didn't have a Shouldered, otherwise they would have played it last turn and just gone wild. Okay, so killing our token, sure. So now they can attack us for 3. But there's so many draws in our deck that just completely stop the opposition agent from being able to deal damage. Our opponent does not have much in the way of cards to operate on. Would you like to pay 1 life, opponent? I think they will pay the 1 life here. If that 1 card is Shouldered, that kind of gets them back to somewhere useful. Leyline of Sanctity. So we've got effectively 27 life, including this Phyrexian Unlife. But we've got 2 moats to draw. We've got a Root Halo. We've got the Solemnity. A whole bunch of stuff that is useful here. Did you find a shouldered opponent? They did not. So they just have to win with this opposition agent. Now it's possible we do lose to this, but statistically speaking, we have enough life that we should hit one of the things that deals with this. An Oblivion Ring. An oldie but a goodie. That should be game, I think. Unless our opponent has more threats in hand. All right, yeah, there it is. It's game. We ground our opponent down in a horrible fashion, which is exactly what I'm here to do. I think I like how we sideboarded here. Now they have to worry about our Leyline of Sanctity in case they're trying to keep a discard heavy hand. We might just be able to blank that on turn 0. Leyline of Sanctity is good because it means that our Serra Sanctum actually taps for mana on turn 1 if we need it to. This hand has an answer to the Helm. We have our Solemnity combo as well, which is pretty much a lock if we have these 3 cards. Thoughtseize, so we're probably going to lose the Solemnity or the Stony Silence here. I imagine it's probably the Solemnity because that combos with multiple things in our hand, but it's the Stony Silence according to our opponent. We did see Lotus Petals as well in there, so not completely wild that they got rid of that. We just have our delicious little Snake of the Plains. We have many Phyrexian Unlife to look at here. Dark Ritual, sure. Necrodominance, that's a mighty fine one. So our opponent's probably just going to draw a whole bunch here. They'll probably go to 1 life here and just sculpt the hand that can kill us. No? Okay. It's like Ritual is 5 mana, 6 mana, 7 mana for a swamp. Douthie Helm, and then they can kill on the following turn, or if they draw any accelerant. They didn't Dark Ritual in anything at the end of the step either. Would love to draw a Stony Silence, please. That's the thing I'm most scared about our opponent's deck. We did have the choice of playing Urza Saga on turn 1 to build up to the Pithing Needle, but I don't particularly like that game plan. Maybe it's one that would have ended up being enough here. We'll see. Our opponent's definitely going to have their choice of resources next turn. Just stuff from our opponent there. Boom. We drew the thing we wanted to draw. Get in there. Now we do need to find another land if we want to deploy a Phyrexian Unlife. Or Solemnity would be the best thing to draw because they can't take it out of our hand if it's in play. And they can't take all 3 of these unless they were getting pretty rowdy with some other bits and pieces. Alright, just a Douthie. That's not too bad. Feed the Swarm becomes very problematic with the Necrodominance triggers. Surely they go down to 1 life this turn. Obviously we don't know what's in our opponent's hands. We don't necessarily know what the correct number is. Okay, this is pretty tasty. Get this Solemnity in. So now our Urza Saga won't gain additional counters. And next turn we can play Phyrexian Unlife and have a 20/20. I'm very much living the dream here. I wonder how this is going to go wrong for us. Feed the Swarm is going to be problematic. Okay, so they can name the Urza Saga, so we can't just pump out constructs. That's pretty good. That's not going to help against this. They know this is coming as well. So they can jab us for 3. That's very much a real plan. I think they draw 2 cards and go to 1 here. They drew 1 card. Leyline of Sanctity. Let's get the Unlife in. Get the Dark Depths in. Alright. That is what we like to see. We are on the board. Let's go to round 2. We're on the play. We don't have any lands, so we're going to mulligan. Okay, we have some tools. We need to work out what are the tools we're keeping. The Court of Grace is our win condition. Are we supposed to keep that? I guess we can use the Saga as our win condition. Instead, just put back the 4-drop. Because we don't want to get into a situation where we're getting bodied by our own Monarch being in our opponent's grip. So we've got removal, we've got Stony Silence if our opponent's playing some Mystic Forge. Once Upon a Time. Okay, so this might not be a Stony Silence matchup. Might also not be a Deafening Silence matchup. Okay, so we're on Eldrazi. That's really annoying because this can blow up any land. So kind of does a number of our removal spells. Not a massive lover of that, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think we'll just get the Saga grinding here. We kind of need to have some juicy-ish targets for their microspawn so that we can actually play our Thin Ice and actually have it work. Okay, we could have played the Stony Silence out to stop Lotus Petal. And it would have amped up our mana as well. Is this going to get a Wasteland? Or are they just going to develop their own mana? I want the Wasteland, sure. Yeah, if we'd have played out this Stony Silence, we'd have been in a better spot. Or our opponent not firing it off straight away. They wait till we got to our turn. It's interesting. Okay. Play out a Snow-Covered Plains and we'll pass. So just removing our opponent's things isn't great, because as this game continues, they're going to have a lot of stuff. Now what we can do is play something along the lines of Moat, which is going to be a thing that our opponent is going to really struggle to deal with. They might have the Devourer of Destiny, but those have kind of been falling out of lists in favour of the One Ring lately. Chalice of Void echoes 1, don't care about that. Eldrazi Temple. Might care about this at some point. Solemnity. That gives us a route to Marit Lage pretty soon. We could play that now, or we could play double Stony Silence and just have loads of mana next turn. Sure, I'll go for double Stony Silence. Stony Silences look pretty bad, but they are still mana for us. So we have 3, 4, 5 mana next turn, so we can cast both of these spells if we need to. We want to split up what lands we're enchanting as well. A Glaring Fleshraker, that is a card that I would very much like to remove, or ossify. Is that a second Glaring Fleshraker? That's a bit of a doozy, that one. So this is what can get through Moat, but that's why we have to have the Phyrexian Unlife combo or the Rude Halo. So we can answer just about everything our opponents want to do. Right, Solemnity, Ossification, target this land. Let's ossify that there, Fleshraker. Now, unfortunately, there is another Fleshraker. I played a build of this mono-white deck a year or two ago, and it was with Helm combo, and it just didn't really work for me. And I think now Stony Silence is even more important to have, so I'm leaning away from the artifacts. We could have had Vexing Bauble in this deck to help against the blue decks. That's another option as well. So this Blast Zone can blow up our enchantments. Okay, so I do have Devourer of Destiny, that's good to know. This might be a tricky one for us, you know. I'm going to blow up our Solemnity, sure, because that gives us access to some scary things. If you don't know what a card's doing, eye it suspiciously. On Thin Ice. Okay. Oh, this gets countered by the Chalice, doesn't it? Whoops. No, that was always going to happen. Yeah, we didn't need to do that. Okay, so we take 8 this turn, then we're probably dead next turn. They can Blast Zone away our Stony Silences. So we need to have Pithing Needle in our deck as an option for Blast Zone. I thought not so. Yeah, I don't think we're winning this one. Like, we could draw Moat, I guess, but then we're dying to the Fleshraker pretty sharpish. Okay, so we have some options in this matchup. So we have a lot of stuff that's bad. So the Rest in Peace is bad, the Deafening Silence isn't good, and the Stony Silence isn't good. That gives us access to another Moat, a couple of Rude Halos, the Ossifications, the Journey to Nowhere. That's a pretty clean 7 for 7 swap. Do we want another Court of Grace so we can actually try and win the game? Because if we let our opponent have enough time, they probably can find a way out of what we're doing. So that's certainly an interesting thing to consider. Do I need this expedition map? Yes, I think we do. Idyllic Tutors, Solemnity. We could cut a Leyline of Sanctity. These aren't the most useful. And that could get us another Court of Grace. We can maybe cut a second one and get hold of this Oblivion Ring. So the Leylines will prevent a Thornot Seer from hitting us, but that's it. So I think we're looking at something like this. Sure, we have removal spells, we have a Rude Halo, We have a route to the combo, to one of the combos I should say. Our deck is flush with combos of varying kinds. Once upon a time. And there's the Ancient Tomb being played out straight away. It's going to be challenged for 1. So we have a choice here. We can go for the Thought-Knot Seer, or we can go for the Glaring Fleshraker. Thought-Knot Seer protects our ability to combo off. So I think it should be the Thought-Knot Seer here. So they can't manipulate our hand. So next turn we can get the Idyllic Tutor and go and find ourselves the Solemnity, and then we just have our pieces together here. Grim Monolith. That's some old tech that we used to run a long time ago in Eldrazi. Null Rod would have been good. Not Null Rod, Stony Silence. Opponent's got a lot more artifact mana than I was expecting here. Okay. Sure, why shouldn't they be able to blow up our land? Sure. So we have these Unthin Ice that we can't use just yet. We're still making land drops though. We've got some life to work with. There might come a time where we have to Idyllic Tutor for the Moat instead. I don't really want to do that because the Fleshraker is covered by Unlife combo, but it's not by the Moat. Blast Zone, that's such a good draw for our opponent. It's 1-off tech land ruining us. And there's a Saga. Is that important right now? Yes, because we can shut off the Blast Zone. So we go and get the... Also, if we draw a Serra Sanctum, it's good for 2 mana next turn. Or actually, it's good for 3 mana next turn. So we want to go and get ourselves the Solemnity. If our opponent puts 2 counters on this Blast Zone, that'd be very interesting. So we have to wait for our Saga to pop before we deploy our combo in that case. Or if they're tapped out, we can play the Solemnity because they can't put counters on Blast Zone while Solemnity is in play. So if we can get this down whilst this doesn't have counters on. So they should really put this up to 3 counters right now. That's the best play for them. Because they can use Ancient Tomb and the Yavimaya plus Ugin, Eye of Ugin, to get the mana. I think that's the correct play at end step here. Otherwise, they risk quite a bit. Oh, they're going for a Kozilek's Command. Okay. That's scary in a very different way. I don't want to see them kick another Myco Spawn. 4 on the top and 1 on the bottom. That is a lot of gas that our opponent has lined up there. Considering we're threatening to make their cards irrelevant, that is very scary. Alright, just 3 this turn. But they have all the mana in the world. The Devourer of Destiny is going to be a real issue for us. Oh, this matchup does not feel like a good one. Eldrazi is actually not great in the meta right now because it pretty much can't beat the Mystic Forge deck. So it's been dropping out quite a bit. But it's certainly going to do a number on us this round, I think. Is it kick Myco Spawn again? Or is this another... Okay, they're just searching for something. Presumably Devourer of Destiny. No, they've got Fleshraker. Are they killing us this turn? That's also going to shuffle away the cards they left on top as well. Another Fleshraker, double Fleshraker. Okay, need to draw Serra's Sanctum, I think. Because that's command X equals 3. We might just be dead this turn. So this is going to make them 3 tokens, which is then going to dome us for 6. So we're going to be on 2 life. So if we draw Serra's Sanctum, and our opponent doesn't draw a spell they can cast off this Kozilek's Command, then we win the game. What is the chances they can't cast a spell with 5 mana that they've just tutored for? Alright, Serra's Sanctum, please. Not Serra's Sanctum. So this puts us in a bit of a bind, doesn't it? Because if we play this Solemnity, we are just dead. So we have to play the Phyrexian Unlife. Because they can hit us down to 0 in 1 hit. The problem is if they play 2 spells first and ping us down, then attack us, then that's a problem. They do still have the Blast Zone. We can shut that off with the Pithing Needle from our Urza's Saga. If they blow this for 3 though, they blow up their own Fleshrakers, which isn't the worst for us. Well, it is the worst for us because we died to the Myco Spawn. But they would need to have this going first. And they don't have the counters on it. So maybe we can wriggle out of this space. It's going to be real tough. And we're going to be just waiting to get Phyrexian devoured, I think. Ooh, kicking the old Myco Spawn. Okay, so we lose 2 lands, so we would have to... Okay, so we're going to get pinged for 2 here. And then we're going to take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, the poison is mounting up already. Oh, so Microspawn, why do you exist? Okay, so on 4 poison, they can attack us for a lethal here, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That unfortunately is a game. Yeah, this matchup feels horrible. I thought we'd have been alright with all of our removal and stuff, but the thing that kills you with Eldrazi isn't the fact they're a bunch of creatures, it's the fact that all these creatures have all these extra stuff tacked onto them. So like so Microspawn just being plow under sometimes is brutal. Alright. I wonder how we're supposed to fix this. I don't know if there's a good option for us that can mess with our opponent's mana base in mono white. I don't know. I think we could always just go old-fashioned Armageddon, but that's going to hurt us too. Anyway, let's go to round 3. Okay, we can stop some stuff here. We don't have any removal in our hand, but we can assemble the combo with a little bit more mana. I will keep this. We'll begin on Deafening Silence. That might just be able to shut some decks down early on. It means we're almost certainly not going to lose the game turn 1. So that's a nice little bonus for us. Right, Deafening Silence. Is this going to be really good against our opponent, or is it going to be pretty bleak and rubbish? Let's find out. We also have Stony Silence we can drop if we want to mess with some other options our opponent has. Imagine if our opponent was just like a classic Storm deck. And we just go turn 1, Silence into Silence. Alright. A Soul Guide Lantern. I guess we are casting our Stony Silence. It'd be rude not to, wouldn't it? Do need to find another land. We do play quite a few. I think we've got 22 lands plus 3 Dark Depths in our list. So we should roughly be curving up to 3 land most of the time. And obviously we have Serra Sanctums, which can sometimes tap for more. Mountain. Our opponent might be a painter deck here. The old Deafening Silence, Stony Silence. Our opponent's probably not having a great time over there. We don't want to play this Solemnity whilst the Urza Saga is out, because we don't want them to just crank out the constructs, because that is a way that we could lose the game here. Goblin Engineer. Well, that can get Pithing Needled. Wouldn't mind drawing an Idyllic Tutor here. Sorry, not an Idyllic Tutor, a Serra Sanctum. And then we can cast the Idyllic Tutor. Okay, Phyrexian Dragon Engine. Oh my god, look at that. So we can go play this. Goblin Engineer, please. And then we can Idyllic Tutor. Oh no, we can't Idyllic Tutor, can we? Because of our own Deafening Silence. Whoops. We can turn our Thespian stage into an Urza Saga. That's an interesting line. Maybe we'll do that in our opponent's turn. We have to do it now if that's what we're doing. I think we might as well. I wonder if this makes our opponent get something like a Pithing Needle for our Urza Saga. It's unlikely. But this Saga just being a mana thing that tutors is pretty good for us. So our permanents aren't perfectly safe. Our opponent has Painted Servant and Red Blast. Alright, Vexing Bauble, that's the most worrying for us. Fable of the Mirror Breaker, sure. By turning this into Urza Saga, it does also give us more mana. This will only learn how to make mana on our turn. Alright, the damage coming in. So we can stop this ever flipping by playing the Solemnity. On Thin Ice. Would I like to stop this from ever flipping? It's an interesting choice. Do we want to stop this from flipping? This also means that our Urza Saga never makes constructs though. I think we're better off Idyllic Tutoring here. And we just go and get ourselves a Phyrexian Unlife. Now it's going to take us multiple turns to play it because of our own Deafening Silence, which is really jamming us up a bit. Like, it's going to be nice when it's good, but maybe this shouldn't be in the main deck. The reason it's in the main deck is because it's 1 mana, so it can ramp out our Sanctum hands. If we don't want this to flip, we have to play the Solemnity next turn, but so we can play the Solemnity. If we draw a land, we can play Solemnity and then hold up Urza Saga token and just make an Urza Saga token every turn. And that's not a bad place for us to be. The treasures from this don't matter, so we've kind of already blanked that. I don't hate the spot we're in. What I don't want to see here is a Painted Servant. Yep, you can play these 1 mana do nothing spells. Goblin Welder. That is pretty good. That probably has to be on Thin Iced. Is that more important than stopping this from flipping though? That is an interesting question. I do wish we didn't have our own Deafening Silence in play now. A Ruined Halo. I think we just have to on Thin Ice this Welder. This means that we're going to lose our Saga next turn. Actually, that's not true. We can copy a basic land, right? So instead of cranking out a guy, it's learn how to make constructs. So we can just make it into a plains. That seems pretty reasonable to me. A little bit worried about what this Reflection Kiki Jiki can do. Alright, so they're only attacking with this guy because we can kill the engineer. So we'll take the 2, and then we'll turn our Saga into a plains. A welder. Do I want to do that now, or do I just want to shut this down with a Pithing Needle? I kind of want to shut it down with a Pithing Needle instead. So I think that means we're making a construct. I guess we can't make another construct on our turn, but we can, with this on the stack, we can make it into a plains. I think that works for us the way we want it to. This way we still get the tutor for an expedition map is fine. We don't have a needle that can nail this right now. So what are we doing? We have 2 mana, so we can crack this if we want to, or we can Idyllic Tutor, or we can just get something in like a Phyrexian Unlife. Do I think having a Solemnity in play is better than a Phyrexian Unlife right now? I think it is, because then our opponent can't get anything out of their own as a Saga. We can't crack this expedition map, but it does make our creature bigger. Kind of might just be better off just having 2 Pithing Needles, because there's so many good targets for Pithing Needles. Obviously, you know, my main deck is a deck that, like the main deck I play the most is probably Turbodepths, which has 4 main deck Pithing Needles. So I do have a love for the needles. So our opponent can do a lot of welding. Are they going to Reflection their welder? They are. So we're going to be tapping and untapping a whole bunch of stuff. I feel like we need Nevermore in this deck, which is a 3 mana enchantment, which you name a spell and they can't cast it. So it's Meddling Mage, but an enchantment. Alright, in comes a Dragon Engine. You can discard some cards there. Getting back the Chaos Defiler. Well, that's definitely a bit of a burden for us to deal with. Our own Deafening Silence has really jammed us up here, because we could have just Idyllic Tutor for a Rest in Peace or something. So what is this going to blow up? Stony Silence, probably? Turn back on their artifacts. But they get to just welder this a whole bunch now. So we can't just hide behind this, because red-black now gets the ability to destroy any permanent. Awkward. My enchantments. Okay, so we really need to draw something that stops this. I don't know if we have anything that does stop that. Ossification. That is handy. That is very handy here. How much mana do we have? We get to cast 1 spell because of our own annoying thing that has jammed us up. I would very much like to get rid of this Chaos Defiler forever and ever. And then I will make a construct with the leftover mana. Am I attacking with my 4/4? I think so. So the thing we are most worried about is Painter's Servant into Red Blasts. That is the thing that can beat us. We need to find a Rest in Peace. Alright, the Painter's Servant is in. That is a problem. Just going to name blue, turn on all the Red Blasts, and they can just like blow up this land and get back everything here. And that's devastating. Yep, so this gets them back. The Defiler. Do I think we can win from here? I don't think we can. I'm just going to save my time. Yeah, that was a real tough one. So, we have some stuff that is good and some stuff that is less good. So we love these Rest in Pieces for what our opponent's up to, so I wouldn't mind having some more of them. I'll put these back in here. So Rest in Peace, we want Stony Silence, we want removal spells in general, look pretty good. Oblivion Ring can deal with a decent chunk of their things. Journey to Nowhere, just have lots of removal. Don't like the Deafening Silence very much. They can get out of here. I don't think we need the Ruined Halos, they're not really targeting us with stuff. If you're bringing in all these Stony Silences, we don't want the Expedition map. Do we need Court of Grace here? I don't think we need the Leyline of Sanctity either, so we can get rid of those. That gives us one more thing we can bring in. So we could bring in a Moat just to stop any sort of aggro plan they have. So they might have Broadside Bombardiers, we usually sometimes see out of Painter, or we could go get a Court of Grace. I think I want the Moat because they can have a reasonable beatdown plan with theirs as Saga. So I think this is what we're looking at here. So we do have Ruined Halo, which can name the Grindstone, but we can just try and block that with Stony Silences instead. And we still have the Pithing Needle. The Leyline stops them from targeting us with the Grindstone, but again, I don't think that's the best way of fighting that. It's one card that we should be shutting down anyway. We have our combo to stop the damage. We also have 2 pieces of removal. I would like a little bit more interaction in terms of, like, well, ways of stopping our opponent from doing things. So I would like to have a Stony Silence here, would be lovely. Or a Rest in Peace. I'll take either. Our opponent mulligan to 5 and we have 2 removal spells. Oh, they've gone to 4. I wonder what they're looking for. Here comes the Snow-Covered Plains. Painted Servant. Okay. We will be putting this guy on thin ice. Or are we going to ossify it? I think we ossify it, actually. Just to be more mana efficient for now. They could Simian Spirit Guide Red Blast. Okay, they didn't do that, that's fine. Okay, so we've got 2 more removal spells. We're going to start ramping up our mana production with Serra's Sanctum. Which is going to be Fable. Simian Spirit Guide. That is not how our opponent wants to play this game. So I can play Solemnity. Okay, yeah. I like the Solemnity quite a bit here. Next turn we have a 20/20. And we also have protection from damage. Alright, a Lotus Petal. A Blood Moon. That's annoying, but it stops our Dark Depths, unfortunately. But we are a mono-white deck with like 12 planes in it. So this will immediately die. This will come in with no counters. That's fine. We will assemble the Phyrexian Unlife Solemnity combo. I don't think we need to unthin ice this guy. The only thing we need to do is hit utility creatures that can mess with us. And at some point we can draw ways of winning the game. The only way we can actually win the game now is Court of Grace because of this Blood Moon. Did we board in the Oblivion Ring? ABC, blah, blah, blah. We did board in the Oblivion Ring. Okay, so we have an out to the Blood Moon. And we can obviously Idyllic Tutor for the Oblivion Ring, or we can Idyllic Tutor for something else. Okay, so this tells us a little bit more about our opponent's deck and makes the Rest in Peace that we've got in our deck even better. Another Phyrexian Unlife is fine here. We can't play out the Urza side without it dying to the Blood Moon. We're just going to keep playing Phyrexian Unlifes. I think so. There is a danger that our opponent just goes Painter Blast once our life total gets to 0. Alright, this is the sort of creature that we would like to remove. Unless we draw a Rest in Peace, then we can leave this. A Dark Depths, that's not a Rest in Peace. Let's just get rid of this welder. I don't want to have to deal with that. Blood Moon doing a surprising amount of work against us here. Maybe we need more just like destroy permanent things like Oblivion Rings. On thin ice. Do we want to just say no to this? I think we can take a little bit more damage before we have to worry about it. They could hardcast a Chaos Defiler at some point. That would be terrifying. At what point do we have to remove a Simian Spirit Guide, I wonder? We have to play around the blast. An Ensnaring Bridge. Okay. Rest in Peace. This is... just look at this. Both of us are just playing all these horrible permanents to mess with each other. So they can attack and then play a card, attack, play a card. So they can still be hitting us for damage underneath their own Ensnaring Bridge. What a silly game. Journey to Nowhere. I think we have enough of these now that we can take out this guy. So we're looking for Idyllic Tutor or Court of Grace. So that's 5 cards in our deck. We will deck before our opponent, but we should also find a win condition before then. A Serra's Sanctum. Can't play that one out as a legendary. I guess we're just staring at one another for a while. Another Dark Depths. This is where having a Helm of Obedience to draw 2 would be good. Solemnity. So now we have double Solemnity, so we can't just be Chaos Defiler out of the game. But our opponent can't play their as a Saga under their own Blood Moon or our Solemnity anyway. Painted 7. Do they have any Red Blasts held up? If they do, that's pretty bad news for us. It's time to fire off some removal spells. Alright, I will play this out. I will on thin ice this land. I don't think you play this out until you have the Red Blast, so I'm pretty sure they have Red Blast. They're counterspelling this, or they're blowing up one of our opponents. We could blow up our land and get their other painter back. Or they're just blowing up this land. Okay. Let's try again. You got another blast? They do have the Lotus Petal mana if they need it. And obviously they have this because of Blood Moon. Pyroblast blowing up my land, getting back their welder. Okay, but that's 2 blasts down. I don't know how many they would have post-board. I imagine they probably have a lot just because of how they need that sort of piece of interaction to deal with us. Sure, so now they can dig for some other stuff. They can get the bits in. This gives them double blast lines where they can take up both of our Solemnities. I'll play a Snake over Plains. So the old Court of Grace is a little bit sketchy to play. But if we can play a Moat here, because they don't have any non-flyers in their whole deck. They used to run Bray's Apprentice, I think it was, which makes it like a 1/1 Thopter, but those aren't really in lists anymore. So we should be able to just play a Moat and sit behind it and then get a Court of Grace going. But we are getting to the point where we're hitting 0 life. We need our wall of things to remain. Oh, that's a very nice one, isn't it? Let's get this Stony Silence in. Let's just shut off a bunch of other things in your deck. So we're going to go to 0 life. If they have double Red Blast right now, they win the game. But we've certainly given our opponent a weird game to play, which is fun. We're on 0 life. Another Stony Silence. I will play it out. So we're not in danger of being Grindstone. The thing I am worried about, like I said before, is the Pyroblasts. That's what is going to be the big factor in this game. And the fact we don't have instant speed removal means they're pretty safe with their Pyroblasts as well. Alright, they're not attacking because it doesn't put poison counters on us. Right, another land, sure. I think we need more Oblivion Rings in our deck. Goblin Engineer, this is just a guy that takes a bad card out of their deck. Unless they're going to blast our Rest in Peace right now. They are going to blast our Rest in Peace. Okay. So it's going to get the Chaos Defiler. I have to imagine. There it is. Okay. So we need to answer... Actually, no, they've got the Welder active right now. So they can Welder it in and take out a Solemnity if they want to. Uh-oh, I think we're in trouble here. Right, I took out a Phyrexian Unlife. Okay. So if we can draw a removal spell right now, we can deal with this. Or a Rest in Peace. Or an Idyllic Tutor. What does that actually do for us? We make a 20/20 that can't be destroyed. Okay. Is that what I want to do? If we Idyllic Tutor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'd have to play another land out, but that's fine. What's the exact text of Phyrexian Devourer? Enters or dies. So if we get the Rest in Peace here, then they can't get us. We can shut this Welder off. I think that's better than having a 20/20 here. Okay, opponent, you've gone through 3 Pyroblasts. Let's hope you don't have any more. Another Painted Servant, sure. Makes it a lot more difficult for us to remove both of them. Another Rest in Peace. Okay, this makes additional Pyroblast more difficult to leverage. Just keep them away from us. So we're looking to just draw Moat into Court of Grace here. We're halfway through our deck at this point. I'll play a land out and pass. I'm very surprised that opponent brought in the Blood Moon, but it's doing some amount of work here. Another Stony Silence. You're sure we'll keep them coming. Trip Stony Silence. Double Rest in Peace. Double Phyrexian Unlife. Double Solemnity. What a ridiculous board state. As a side we can't play. We have 5 cards in our hand that we can't play right now. An Oblivion Ring. This is a card that we can use. Take out the Oblivion Ring. Sorry, take out the Moon with the Oblivion Ring. This gives us a 20/20, so we can just try and win the game now. We can play a Saga, but it doesn't actually... Well, it does generate mana, but only via the Serra Sanctum. This can't get counters on it. But we have a win condition now. One that our opponent is not necessarily the most likely to be able to answer. We do need to get rid of this Ensnaring Bridge, I suppose. That might be a bit trickier. But we can... Maybe we're not supposed to Oblivion Ring that. I don't know. Because we can't actually attack through the Ensnaring Bridge right now. On thin ice, sure. Let's get rid of this Defiler. Maybe we're supposed to get rid of a painter here, actually. Yeah, I don't know. No, I don't think that's right, actually. I think we get rid of the painter, and then if we can get rid of the other painter, there's only one painter left in the deck. Because now if they Pyroblast this, they get the ETB trigger on this. So we've just made things more difficult for ourselves for no reason. Oh, dear. Right, we just need our opponent to draw 15 cards and keep them in hand. That's all we need. And then we can attack with the Merit Lage. Yeah, we do need something else to deal with the... we need like another Oblivion Ring style card in our deck. We're learning. But if they Red Blast to get back the Defiler, they still only get to blow up one of our permanents, and that doesn't really matter. Because we have such redundancy on everything. I guess they can get back the Blood Moon if they want, but that doesn't matter either, really. Red Blast, getting back this guy, sure. What are they going to blow up with this? One of the Rest in Pieces? One of the Phyrexian Unlifes, okay. Solemnity, I guess we play it out. So for the most part, them blasting that was exactly the same as them blasting the Unlife. They got another blast? A Grindstone, okay. That cannot be activated through our triple Stony Silence. Thespian's Stage. Okay. Well, we're over halfway through our deck and we haven't found one of the win conditions. Did we board in the other court? I don't think we did. No, we didn't. So we're odds on to have drawn one by now. And a painter. We've got Moat as well. Sure, let's show them another Stony Silence. We're supposed to have left up the Thespian Stage. We can copy into a snow-covered plains if we want to. It doesn't really matter here, though. We're just playing a really silly game where we're just seeing who draws the first thing that breaks open. Court of Grace. I will deploy this Court of Grace. Another Phyrexian Unlife. Happy to see that one, since we only have one left. Our opponent can take the Monarch here, but we can permanently get rid of this Defiler. Goblin Engineer, that doesn't do anything on the board. It tutors a bad card out of their deck, which is many of the cards in their deck at this point. Do they want to take the Monarch or not? They do not. Okay. They want us to deck? Agatha's Soul Quadrant, maybe. So they were trying to empty their hand so that our 4/4s can't attack. We're going to lose because we only have one Oblivion Ring in our deck. If we just have 4 Oblivion Rings, then we'd be fine here. Yep, so they're just emptying their hands so we don't get any creatures that can attack. So that's why they don't want the Monarch here. So now what is our plan? That's a damn fine question. So we were always going to deck before our opponent anyway. Alright, Phyrexian Unlife. Let's get another one of you in. 15 mana. Maybe we just need like a big X spell. We can exile a creature. Does that matter? Not particularly. How do we win this game if our opponent can stay below 4 cards in hand at all times? That is a very good question. Grindstone, sure. Give us a choice of making 1/1s. I'd love to make some 1/1s. We don't really want to play this Moat because we want our opponent to take the Monarch. Oh dear. We just ruined ourselves by Oblivion Ring and that Blood Moon. We should have Oblivion Ring the Snaring Bridge. A tricky one. And Phyrexian Dragon Engine. Just playing stuff out. I'll play out this as a Saga. Taps for mana at least. Well, it makes our Sanctum tap for mana. Let's make a Journey to Nowhere. Let's get one of these painters. Let's get another painter. And like I said, I want them to attack here. A welder, sure. We're making more guys. Rest in peace, sure. Let's get rid of this final painter. 1, 2, 3, 4. All the painters are dead. Is there a way that our opponent can not play cards out for us? Yeah, a second Oblivion Ring and we win this game. That's really tilting that that's what it comes down to. Let me just check my list in case I'm missing anything. Doesn't feel like I am. Makes of the Moon. Sure, goodbye Urza Sagas. Wonder if this stops our opponent from being able to play out cards. I doubt it. Idyllic Tutor. It's a real tilter, isn't it? I don't think we can win here. Yeah, if we have a second O-ring in our deck, we win that game easily. Oh wow, geez, our opponent had a laugh about it as well. Okay, let's go to round 4. Alright, our opener for round 4 does not do anything, so we're going to mulligan. A 1-lander, but it does have an expedition map. I don't think we can keep this. Right, we have more lands. Goodbye. So Sanctum. Are we supposed to keep this Dark Depths? Right, this is kind of only a 1-lander as well, isn't it? I'm looking at it in the cold light of day. Maybe it's the 4-drop. Maybe it's the Unlife. Maybe it's one of these 3. I don't like this hand very much. Let's put back a 4-drop. Okay, deck. You got to deliver some goods for me. I still think this is better than going to 4. Maybe I'm wrong. We are not having the best of time in this particular game so far. But maybe we just shut them down with a Stony Silence. Or maybe Stony Silence does nothing against our opponent. This is the sort of game where Deafening Silence would have been really good because it will ramp out to make our Sanctum actually work. Oh, look at that. I always had it. This will give us mana if nothing else. Thoughtseize. Well, we're going to lose the only card in our hand. So we're just down to trying to draw Solemnity or Thespian Stage. That's 6 draws that work for us to get the Dark Depths going. And generally speaking, Dark Depths against these sort of blue-blacky decks, they can't really deal with the Merit Lage once it's in play. Maybe they have a Borrower, or if they're a Reanimator, they can Archon of Cruelty it. I think I will play out the Serra Sanctum this turn. Maybe it does nothing. Maybe it just eats a Wasteland, but then that's a Wasteland that's not pointed at our Dark Depths. Psychic Frog. Alright, here's where things are going to go a bit awry for us. We do have a decent chunk of removal in our deck, so maybe we could find some of that. Look at that. Just as we drew it up. We can play around double days. Okay, so if we play out the Dark Depths, we have access to the Thespian Stage. But do we need to do that? I guess we can start removing the counters manually. Not really the plan, but I'll take it. Baleful Strix. Can't activate its abilities. Not that it has any. This could be Grixis, looking at the Bloodstained Mire as well. If I was to play a Pithing Needle, what would I name? Could be Kaito. That's a card you see. I don't know if we're playing it out, to be honest. I don't think we are. So we could name Wasteland, but if they're Grixis, they don't have Wastelands. We could name Kaito, but they don't always play Kaito. We could name the Stifle guy, but some Nimble Obstructionist. I think we're going to see a basic mountain here. There it is, yeah. So they are Grixis. So we do not care about Wastelands because they don't have any. And Orcish Bowmasters, sure. Like against creatures, we should be fine. It's the, oh no, they're countering our clutch spells problem. We can name Psychic Frog with Pithing Needle so that the Moat is stronger if we draw it, but we can wait till we draw Moat and work that one out then. We're slowly removing counters. Another land and we can remove 2 a turn. It gives us 4 turns till a 2020. Our opponent probably has some answers for it though. Since their deck is a control deck, they're more likely to have ways of interacting with it. Something like a Rest in Peace also stops the Psychic Frog coming down and attacking later on. Makes this a lot worse. Rest in Peace. Is it time? No. Okay, so we can remove 2 counters that we're taking 3, 4, 5, 6 damage this turn. Now this was quite a low mulligan. Maybe we should have gone even lower. But we have interacted with our opponent with on thin ice at least. Okay, we're going to take a big bash from this Barragoyf. They got a Narset, that's something worth Pithing Needling. So maybe this is the turn we deploy the Pithing Needle. Or are we deploying on the Psychic Frog? The Psychic Frog is lethal next turn. Let's go for a Pithing Needle and see if our opponent dumps some cards into the Frog to get over the finish line. 4, 5, 6, 7. How many would you like to dump? Do I want our opponent to have additional cards? I think we have to kill the Barragoyf here. That's a pretty good force of will target right there. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Right, so you have to take out the biggest one. They're both card advantage threats in their own way. But this one just hits harder. Now, the Frog can draw them any card, which is obviously not ideal. But you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. 1, 2, 3. So we're going to 9 here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they put us to 1 on this turn. Why didn't they discard one more card if they knew they had this coming? So we need to draw Phyrexian Unlife. Moat isn't good enough if we're on 1 life due to the Baleful Strix. Phyrexian Unlife buys us another turn. If they have counterspell, we just lose. Right, deck. Solemnity. That does not help here. Okay, that was a bit of a wash, that one. We mulliganed out of that game. Let's see what we want. So this is not a matchup where Stony Silence matters, so that can get out of here. The Deafening Silence is not really what we're looking for. It's fine, but we can probably trim it. The Leyline of Sanctity is reasonable. The Moats are reasonable. I think just having an Oblivion Ring in our deck at all points at all times is sensible there from now on. We've got this Ossification, which can hit their Planeswalkers. That's 60. Do we want access to another win condition and a Moat? Possibly. Do we care about the Rune Halos that much? Not necessarily. So Moat plus Rest in Peace stops our opponent pretty much from hitting us. That's the plan here. Alright. I suspect we're not great against control. With a simple tweak, we could have been very good against Painter. But we made a mistake with our deck building there. Okay. We got Plains into Saga, Rest in Peace, pump out a few constructs. Get that whole jam going. We've got a removal spell as well, if we need it. We've got the really flexible removal spell that we should definitely be running more of. Or, you know, we could run another win condition like Sacred Mesa would have been fine as well. Okay. We're assembling a team here. I'm not sure this Rest in Peace will resolve. But if they want to spend a real counter spell on a Rest in Peace, that's good for me. Right, we're in. So no Psychic Frog jumping, no Murktide Regents, no Barragoyfs hitting us. They probably have access to 1 or 2 Brazen Borrowers. So that's something we have to be aware of. I would love to draw a land this turn. This is the turn for a land, please, deck. It is a land. I will play it out. I don't think we're playing out the Unlife here. I think we're just going to make a construct because that's something that's very difficult for control decks to deal with. Now, they might have Dress Down, which could be frustrating for us. A mountain. Let's make a guy. I think I'm happy just to make a guy here. I hope we didn't get Dressed Down. Do I want... there's a lightning bolt again, sure. I'm just thinking, do I want a expedition map here, or do I want to get the thing to deal with the Narset? I think I want the expedition map. So next time we can make out another construct. Keep bashing. All right. Interesting, they chose us the wrong mode there. Okay, they just said they misclicked. They went to kill our creature. That makes sense. But that's one thing that's not going to be used to target our Marit Lage down the line. We need a little bit of help with our deck, so I'll take it. So this is going to pop. We're going to name Narset Power of Veils because we know that's in our opponent's deck. 4. Ooh, another removal spell that could hit our Dark Depths. Alright, so those guys of Saga did quite a lot of work for us. Narset Power of Veils, so we can't draw additional cards, but maybe they've got some sort of thing that like wheels us. Let's go and get the Thespian stage here. Deploy the Thespian stage and be ready to rock and roll next turn. We did have an option of taking out the Narset, but that's not really what this game is about. If they are going to wheel us, we'll still have access to the Dark Depths combo here. Baleful Strix. Sure, we can remove that when the time comes. Also, the Death Touch doesn't matter. Court of Grace. That is a fascinating one, isn't it? I think we're just best off making a 2020. Like the Court of Grace, not so great underneath the Narset anyway. I imagine our opponent's deck struggles against the 2020 when they've already used Shoulder's Edict and a Brazen Borrower. I can't imagine there's many more answers in their hand. Or even in their deck. Colligan's Command. Okay, so now they get to activate their Narset. This will tell us if they hit or not though, because we get to see what they find. A Ponder. So they probably ponder this turn, yep. But then we end a turn, make the Dark Depths, untap Ossification. We can get rid of this Strix and try and just win the game straight up. And if all that doesn't work somehow, we do get the ability to mess with our opponent with like Court of Grace and stuff, because this Baleful Strix is probably going under the bus. Alright, we're making a Marit Lage. Are we going to actually get some sweet Marit Lage killings? I hope so. Drew a land, which kind of makes me tempted to play the Court of Grace here, because we can force the block and then get something really solid down. Because either of these pretty much win the game on their own. Actually, this isn't very good into the Nasa, is it? Let's just Ossification. Force of Will was required. Right, I will attack. I will attack our opponent and kill their Baleful Strix. I think if we attack the Nasa or them, we kill the Baleful Strix. The Death Touch doesn't matter because we have Indestructible. Due to the Rest in Peace, they can't have any Snapcaster Mage action to like flash back any of the things like the Shoulder's Edict that have come and gone already. What have you got, opponent? Swing and a miss. Ooh, that's not the one. Thoughtseize, they're getting some more information. They can still play the Borrower and block for a turn. They'll probably take the Oblivion Ring here so they don't die immediately and have at least a chance to draw. They're definitely drawing to outs, otherwise they would have scooped. Right, it took the Oblivion Ring as expected. What are we fetching for? Underground Sea. Another Thoughtseize. They're going to take the Court of Grace, I think. They did indeed take the Court of Grace. I will attack with our 2020 and I will kill their Brazen Borrower. Shock Horror. It's a fairy. Under the bus you go. So I would very much like to have a Leyline of Sanctity here. No more discard spells to worry about. The Shoulder's Edict is each opponent, so it doesn't stop that. Alright, Marit Lage getting it done. On to game 3. I don't have any issues with how we sideboarded here. I think we're just ready to go in. Be nice to start with a Leyline in play at one time, wouldn't it? Alright, our opener for this round, for this game, is certainly not happening. We have a land, but it doesn't tap for mana. We start with this, we don't get discarded. Court of Grace is very good. We also have our combos that can't damage us. I will keep this. We have to decide what we put back, though. I think we're going to put back the Unlife with the idea of playing the Solemnity to make sure our Saga just keeps cranking, because that should cause our opponent all sorts of trouble. So turn 1 this, turn 2 this, turn 3 Sanctum Solemnity. That does rely on us getting the Solemnity to resolve, though. Not always the easiest thing. Hopefully we can test our opponent with something first. Ossification, that's not really the one, is it? Maybe they'll play a frog, we Ossification it, they maybe want to save it. Just cycling Lorien Reveal. So they're playing on basics. I wonder if they have anything to mess with us, like a Blood Moon. It's possible out of these Grixis decks. Alright, so we are pretty much doing the line that I voiced a moment ago. Our opponent's deck doesn't run Daze, so I'm going to run the most mana efficient one here, even though this can't hit the thing. Alright, they're going to counterspell this, they did not. Okay. So next turn we can try for the Solemnity here. So this means that next turn, if we need to on thin ice another frog, we can do that and still play the Solemnity. A Baleful Strix. Unsure if I care enough about this one. Just going to counter. Cut the Serra Sanctum here. Let's get Solemnity in. Would you like to deal with the permanent Urza Saga that never goes away? This is a pretty solid play against the control deck. Next turn we can on thin ice, which is basically free because of the Serra Sanctum, make a construct and probably Court of Grace at the same time as well. So I think I like our spot. I don't think we have to on thin ice here, but if we're playing the Court of Grace, we probably do. But they can Orcish Bowmaster and all sorts of stuff. Okay. I'm going to cast a Rest in Peace here. Are we just in with that, are we? So how much is tap for? 5. So we can on thin ice, or we could just make a guy. I think we're just going to make guys. Eventually, our army of Saga guys will be enough. So I could have played the Court of Grace and on thin ice, but if they had any flash creature, Nimble Obstructionist, or Brazen Borrower, Orcish Bowmasters, it all goes wrong for us. Do they keep this back to block now? I think they might. No, they're coming in for the damage. We're slowly getting our hooks in. Let's make a friend. So they could bounce our Solemnity to stop us making sagas. This is awkward. It does give us +1 mana though. Right, I will attack with this construct token. If our opponent plays something out so they can't play out another creature. So if we play this Court of Grace, it is possible we lose the game because of it. And I don't just want to play into that. So we're just going to make a construct every turn until our opponent dies. See, there we go. There's a flash guy. So our opponent just wants to race here. But we can remove that next turn. That is worthy of an on thin ice. Bash him for 4. So we could have come in for 2 damage last time if we made the construct right there and then. But I didn't want our opponent to be able to Orcish Bowmasters in our turn and things. I don't know, maybe that was wrong still. We're supposed to force that 1 point of damage. We'll end up in a situation where we get to see if that matters though. Kozilek's command. Sure. Pretty strong. Another Rest in Peace. Not the strongest. Do I... Okay, so we are on thin icing this Nimble Destructionist. The question is, am I making a construct and Court of Gracing or not? Court of Grace can definitely backfire. I don't want our opponent to be mana efficient in their turn either. I think we're just going to pass. Because if we make the construct now, our opponent might be able to answer it now and then untap and have more stuff. It's going to be a Surveil land. Yeah, there it is. Ponder, sure. Badlands. In comes the Baleful Strix again. It makes sense they go for the race because we just have the infinite parade of Urza Saga constructs. I think now we'll make it to force through damage after it went wrong previously for us. A lightning bolt, sure. Just get a second Rest in Peace. They can't ever bounce the first one out. It also gives us more mana. Our opponent's probably wary of something like a Helm of Obedience out of our deck with all these Rest in Pieces. But we just got the best Bitter Blossom ever, pretty much, in this Urza Saga just popping off. Do I want double Court of Grace? That is a more tempting beast, isn't it? You got any action over there? Shoulder's Edict. I will sacrifice the one that is not attacking. How much mana is this putting out now? 8. Alright, let's just slam a Court of Grace. This might lose us the game, but I think having 2 of them means that we have enough that we can push through what our opponent's doing. We get the first card draw here, and then we'll kind of trade the Monarch backwards and forwards. But us making 1/1s is still reasonable. Dark Depths. Okay, so we have a 20/20 next turn as well. There is a dream, and we are living it right now. Maybe. Alright, you get the Monarch. So they can kill our creature. So we could have sandbagged a second Court of Grace to steal the Monarch back the following turn, but I just want the bodies. I think that's what this game is about right now. Plenty of tokens. Shoulder's Edict is not killing our 20/20. They would like to Orcish Bowmasters, would they? Would they like to ping down our construct? No, they're going to ping down a Spirit. Another Orcish Bowmasters. I'm going to ping down the other Spirit. Alright, so if I go to attacks here, I don't really want to play this Moat out. Let's see what our opponent wants to do about this. Let's make a friend. Let's make a 20/20. Again, I don't think we want the Moat, because if they can answer our Marit Lage, then they are the only one who has the Monarch going. Alright. Is the power of all of our nonsense going to get there? A Leyline of Sanctity. That's not really relevant right now. Let's attack with everything. It's nice we're getting to showcase the Solemnity side of the deck here with the Urza Saga just popping off. I will force through additional damage. It does expose us to a Colligan's Command here. They can blow this up for 2. They could always blow it up with the blow up artifact mode anyway. Alright, sure. Again, that's always going to work too. Make another Leyline. It's just more mana for later on. Feels like our opponent is in trouble now. They've run out of bits on the board. They are drawing an additional card at end step. But Shoulder's Edict doesn't work. They need to have Brazen Borrower here. Waterlogged Teachings. That's probably a pretty good way of finding what you need. What does this find? Brazen Borrower to bounce the... Yeah, it's Brazen Borrower. So they can Brazen Borrower and play it. But they're still going to lose the Monarch this turn and their Brazen Borrower. And we're just snowballing out with all this Court of Grey stuff, which is exactly what I wanted it to do in a matchup like this. Okay, we can go to attacks. Right, so we're going to lose the Merit Lage. Goodbye, Merit Lage. They probably play. Do they play this in block? I don't think they do. They probably have it as a way of trying to get back the initiative. The Monarch? I don't know. Feels like we should be able to string together a win through here. There's the Borrower. Can't block the Construct, can only block the Flyers. Maybe we can play some Moat soon. Right, we steal the Monarch back. How much mana do we have? All the mana in the world. Let's tutor for whatever we want. And what is it that we want here? Could just be an on thin ice and just take out that creature. That honestly seems fine here. GG from the opponent there. All right, we managed to get a match. I think that's the second match now. Let's have a look. 2-2, so the positive record is on the line. Let's see if we can nail that one down. Okay, we're into the final round. Our hand looks reasonable. I'll keep this one. Could have already been locked in with a positive record if I just had a second Oblivion Ring in my deck. So there we are. I don't think we're just going to play out a blind Pithing Needle. Maybe we should do just on Wasteland. Our opponent is a Yori on deck. So there could be Death and Taxes. So I think I will play this on Wasteland just in case they are. I don't know how useful the Stony Silence is going to be, but if they're Death and Taxes, we can shut down a bunch of stuff. Okay, they're not Death and Taxes. They are the multicolored urine. They still might have Wasteland. Oh, they just milled off the Wasteland. Okay, excellent. Would like to see a land here just so we're rolled up for next turn. Alright, was not the case. Let's see if the Stony Silence can do the work for us. So our opponent probably has very few win conditions, but they will have the ability to remove our enchantments with Leyline Binding. A Tiger, over to us. And we did find a land eventually. I think we will ride these construct tokens. They tend to be pretty good against control, generally speaking. And it's probably going to be better than us trying to Idyllic Tutor right now. Basic Forest as well. An Uro. Well, we can certainly answer that with a bunch of stuff. Rest in Peace looking good. Go to our opponent's end step. We'll make a creature. We will be getting this Expedition map. Just because it's in play, it's better in play. They're fetching around a second Pithing Needle. Are they playing this as well? Oh, they're stifling. They're stifling... Oh, they stifled the... they stifled the tutor that wasn't going to do anything for us. I'll take that. I will take that to the bank. So now we've got 6 power in play. It can all be undone via a dress down though. Not sure how this particular art of a construct is attacking when it just looks like a head that's just fallen off of a statue. No, they were tapping some rug mana there. We're going to see something spicy maybe? Guided Passage. It's a classic that I love. Just another Uro. Sure. We have a removal spell for when that's ready. This blanks one of our attacks next turn. This also gives them enough cards to bring back the Uro. Be a good time to draw. Okay, I don't like that very much. Get rid of our Wasteland. Pithing Needle. Well, we don't really have much to do here. So we get to attack for 4. Do I play a Deafening Silence? Is this useful right now? It stops our opponent from cantripping into things. It might mess up our own Idyllic Tutor lines later on though. That is a tough call. If our opponent's drawing lots of cards, we don't want them to be able to draw. Alright, we all play it out. We're currently in a position where we're unlikely to be double spelling, whereas our opponent is. Now that can obviously change over the course of a few turns, but we just have to live with that, I'm afraid. Alright, they're going to exile a bunch of stuff, they're going to deploy an Uro, and then we're going to try and put that little guy on thin ice. I doubt our opponent has much that's going to be targeting us. Snow-covered plains, I don't hate having one of those. Can I get rid of your Uro, please, opponent? Alright, we get to strip the Uro away. Which attack? Does our opponent have the ability to Leyline Binding? Because that would suck for us. I did not. So we get to do a little bit more damage. Our opponent's graveyard is empty. We're going to see a Surveyor land here. Xander's Lounge. Okay, so now they can Leyline Binding and get their arrow back, but it will go to bin rather than be in play. They still get another trigger, which blanks another combat step. So get rid of our On Thin Ice here. This is the only spell they get this turn. So I'm not sure they should have done that right now. They should have maybe done it in our turn, because I don't know how many flash spells they have, but maybe they want to hold up for a counter spell, and that's why they're doing it this way. We'll get rid of the Deafening Silence. Okay, that is a-okay with me. If that's absorbing some removal and switching our good stuff back on to be more castable, I am very much down for that. I would like to find some mana. There is an Uro, you can go in the bin, where you belong. Perhaps just playing mono Uros over there. Rest in Peace is something I'd be happy to draw this turn as well, obviously. A Dark Depths. Right, I think we're going to attack. I'm going to cast as Idyllic Tutor and see if it resolves. And then we can work out what we're getting. Right, we've got a Force of Will on it. I will play out this Dark Depths because we can draw a Thespian stage. We do know our opponent runs Wastelands, but they might not have very many in their 5-colour deck. It might just be that one that we saw. Alright, plowing our guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just the classic play pattern of, oh look, it's an Uro over and over. Imagine if this was a Rest in Peace instead of a Stony Silence. This game would have been over. But alas, we need to draw some removal here. We can Court of Grace turtle up for a turn, but that doesn't really work in the long run. Okay, I like the Thespian stage here. I guess that's what we're doing. Do we play around our opponent's sorcery speed removal? I think so. They might have prismatic endings in their multicolored deck. They might have a Leyline Binding as well. Right, I'll let you draw your card, I guess. Let's try and kill their array. They could stifle it, they've shown us a stifle. There it is. Just a nice time walk for 1 mana there, basically. Pretty solid. What is this? This could be a prismatic ending cast with like lots of colours to take out the Leyline. Okay, why do they care about the Leyline so much? That's a little worrying. A Runed Halo. We don't get to cast all the things we want here. I think I'm going to cast the Runed Halo. They still get to draw cards here. A Force of Negation, Pitching Spell Pit. Sure, so now we don't get to make a 20/20 either. Sure, I get my 1 point of damage in. It might end up mattering at some point. I don't think I want to block this turn. Next turn maybe, but not now. Would have loved to have had another mana for that turn cycle. Intuition. What is our opponent up to over there? Pretty weird list from our opponent. Stifles and Intuitions are certainly not standard. Life from Loan, Wasteland, Wasteland. Okay, we give them the Life from the Loan back. Sure, you get back 2 Wastelands. So the Dark Depths plan is probably off now. Just a casual 3 Wasteland, 5 colour deck. Why not? Why shouldn't they have all these Wastelands? Okay. I think we got to go big here. I think we got to go Court of Grace and chump block. There are many ways this falls apart. We've drawn a blank there. 2 cards in our opponent's hand. So they just cast 4 Theolingus here and we're absolutely in the toilet. Unless we draw Serra's Sanctum, which taps for 3, which allows us to go tutor for Moat. Right, they're getting back the Intuition on top. Are they going to get a removal spell before we go to blocks here? Feels like that's what's happening. Oh, Stony Silence. If you were Rest in Peace, this wouldn't have even been a game. At least we get to do that in game 2 and hopefully 3. So just go get like 3 line of bolts or something. Plow, 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 sure. Goodbye, friend. You're into hand, sure. It's getting tough out there. Serra's Sanctum, that does help, doesn't it? Let's cast an Idyllic Tutor. So what do we want here? We're probably not beating them just with the... I think we just get the Moat here. That's probably step 1, isn't it? They can obviously get back the Wasteland here and shut us off, but that's fine. Let's just cast Moat. Oh, sure, why wouldn't you have another Force of Negation? Okay. So we have to chump block here, otherwise we die. Do you have a removal spell, opponent? Plow for the win. This is your last card in hand, the last thing to get you over the finish line right now. Alright, they're just going to put something on top and get it back. Alright, our opponent's deck does not beat Rest in Peace. Unfortunately, we had the wrong hate piece. That's very tilting. Let's get rid of these Stony Silences. That's step one. Uncertain if we need these Rune Halos. I don't think we do. Deafening Silence was something our opponent didn't want us to have in play, so that's something I want to have in play. The Moat is not the worst either. Let's see what we're bringing in. 2 Rest in Pieces, that's a given. We probably want Greater Auramancy in this matchup, because our opponent actually has answers to our things. Probably don't want just an Oblivion Ring, just as a nice hedge against a bunch of stuff. Is this a Moat matchup? Because if they have Fourth Lingus, we do want the Moat. And that means you probably need multiple... Do we want multiple Moats? Do we need these Deafening Silences? That does slow our opponent down. Definitely slows their roll with all their cantrips and stuff. But would I rather have things that are slightly more impactful? So I could have a Court of Grace as like a nice big haymaker. We have a Moat to stop Fourth Lingus. And then... Did you just keep the one? No, we didn't need one of those. One's not a good number. Maybe just have one Rune Halo to hedge. Let's try this. I'm not really convinced the Dark Depths plan is great in this matchup either. But we're pretty shy on win conditions, so we need to keep them all in, really. This isn't a deck where you get to board out win conditions. This does have our combo, but I don't think that's where we want to be, is it? I think we can mulligan for something stronger. Alright, this is stronger, because Rest in Peace is a banger. I'll put back one of the lands. Alright, opponent. Mystic Sanctuary tap. That is not a display of strength. I don't believe our opponent has Dazes in their deck. I would like to play a Rest in Peace, please. Alright. No Arrows, no Life from Malones. Ponder from our opponent. And a Scalding Tarn. That's probably going to get a Surveil land or a Tri-land or something. Another Rest in Peace. Let's make sure that they are resting most assuredly in peace. We do need our Court of Grace to resolve, to be honest, because we haven't got anything else going on pressure-wise, and our deck is very low on pressure, but we're not a million miles away from doing a Dark Depths. We just need the Dark Depths. So this is Hardcast Force of Negation. I think we just play out this Snow-Covered Plains. I don't think we need to play out this Court of Grace while this is up. So if our opponent cycles a Uro at some point, we'll leave this Thespian stage up. We'll turn it into a Plains when we get this chance. I don't think we want to copy the Xander's Lounge. There is a Tundra. Right, so we're just shuffling off the Brainstorm there. Right. The One Ring. Sure. Can have the One Ring. It's good. It's very good. So we can at least force them to 2 for 1 to deal with our Court of Grace. 1, 2, 3. So we don't have enough to do all of that. So let's just play this out. Let's cast the Court of Grace. Alright, they had the answer. It's Expedition Map. Have to overcome the One Ring card advantage. Maybe we did want the Stony Silence. We just didn't see this though in game 1. We saw a lot of their deck. Like, this does feel like a really greedy deck with... It's got Up the Beanstalk, Life from Malone engine, and the One Ring engine, and presumably Fourth Lingus. Right, we lost our Expedition Map to a Prismatic Ending. Alright, they're going to Leyline binding away one of our Rest in Pieces. This draws them additional cards as well, or an additional card. And play out this Snow-Covered Plains. One thing I'm not looking forward to when we get lots of bannings in Legacy are these sorts of 5-colour decks coming back in. I really don't enjoy them at all. I just don't think there's enough of a cost for playing all these 5 colours in Legacy. Like you've seen, they're playing a whole bunch of Wastelands in their 5-colour deck. Sure, our opponent's got lots of cards. It feels like they're just trying to dig till they hit Fourth Lingus, most likely. Just fireball us. We can't protect from Fourth Lingus because the tokens aren't cards. Right, we're just going to keep drawing lands while our opponent is drawing 5, 6 cards a turn. Okay. Right, so they've got an array. I don't think there's going to be much of this game left. Our draws were not great, and our opponents were pretty solid. Obviously, our deck has a lot of support card draws. If we'd have known they'd have the One Ring, maybe we keep in some amount of Stony Silence. We still have a Pithing Needle. I'm pretty sure we didn't board that out. Let's just check. Yeah, we still have the Pithing Needle. But yeah, our opponent's drawn a lot of their deck. They've drawn 10 more cards than us. Rune Halo, please. Force of Will, drawing a bunch of cards. Is our play just to deck our opponent? Is that what we're doing here? Maybe we're even casting this Court of Grace to that end. I think our opponent's probably going to be okay with this. Sure, they're even stifling our card draws because they've got so many cards. Yeah, I don't think this one is winnable anymore. I guess maybe we moat our opponent and things start going awry for them. But I don't know how we're supposed to get through all of these cards that our opponent has. Yeah, they've just set up a lot of engines. So, what is it? It's turn 8 and our opponent has drawn the majority of their deck. Yikes. We have drawn 13 cards total. Doesn't feel great. Alright, so they got the Monarchs, they're drawing even more cards. They got 15, they're going to have 16 cards in hand. But, you know, maybe we get to remove this somehow. Seems unlikely if our opponent's drawing this many cards. I haven't played a Wasteland yet. Do we do this in our opponent's upkeep? Consign to memory. They're consigning to memory their own One Ring triggers so they don't take damage. There's a Wasteland. Drawing some more cards. So I guess we have the Solemnity, which can kind of cover the One Ring anyway, because if we get the Solemnity down before the One Ring, then they don't get any counters on it. That works out for us too. There's no point trying to make our 2020 here because they'll just Wasteland in response. If we had a second Thespian stage, then we have a chance, so we might as well have another crack. Oh, they got another Wasteland in play. Sure. We've only got 16 cards left. We just need some sort of powerful milling object. Idyllic Tutor. I've got a feeling that this card is not going to resolve. Alright, we can skip it up. Yeah, that last round was very miserable. I do not like the 5-colour control. I don't think they're too good. I just find them to be a miserable deck. I think they're absolutely terrible in the meta right now as well. But because control is basically unplayable right now. But yeah, so we finished with a 2-3. If we'd have had another Oblivion Ring, or if we'd have used our Oblivion Ring on the right thing, although they would have just Pyroblasted it, it was a thing. But if we just have more Oblivion Rings, we just crush that opponent matchup. So how do I feel about this deck? Honestly, I feel pretty good. I think we had a few issues with the Deafening Silence tripping over ourselves. I like our removal suite, so move that over there. So this is kind of like the slot that I think that you can probably mess around with to an extent. So maybe we just want to have singletons of some of these and just have some more like Oblivion Ring style effects, just like solidly good removal, and then we just have singletons so we can go and find. So maybe we have another Idyllic Tutor, and then we can go and have our Rest in Peace to go and find if we need it, or the Stony Silence to go and find. But we don't have a lot of way of manipulating, so would just be sort of on these 4 and the 1. But I guess 5 copies is fine. So let's say if we did strip these two out. So we keep these 2, and we keep a Ruined Halo. Sorry, we keep Stony Silence here. And then we have these Deafening Silence, which are kind of essential to getting our mana up and running, but they did kind of jam us up a bit. So we could replace these 6 slots with like 2 Oblivion Ring, and then that gives us, I don't know, 4 Swords to Plowshares maybe, if we're trying to play better cards just in general. I do kind of want a card advantage engine, but if we play something like the One Ring, that kind of steps on our own toes with the Stony Silence a little bit. So I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure how we can leverage more card advantage. We've already got Court of Grace. That's kind of how we're trying to do it. I don't really want to run Enlightened Tutor because that is card disadvantage, and I don't think a deck that doesn't have a draw engine can also afford card disadvantage. That's just not what we can do. We already have card disadvantage in some of our hate pieces not working against certain decks. But yeah, I think the deck performed pretty well. It would have performed better with like a minor tweak, like I said, with the Oblivion Ring. And we only just lost in that last round. If we'd have had the Rest in Peace instead of the Stony Silence, that game would have been pretty rudimentary, I think. So it's a positive outlook for me on this deck, even though we only got the 2-3 today. I think last year or the year before when I played this, we got the 4-1, which is pretty spicy. But I did want to index more heavily into like Stony Silence and Rest in Peace type stuff at the moment because of the 2 most powerful decks in the format being Blue-Black Reanimator and the Karn Forge deck. So I wanted to have more things against those. Whereas we kind of just played against a weird spread of stuff. Like Painter is, you know, a deck that you should expect to play against in a, you know, like a 10-round tournament or so. You're probably going to see a Painter. whereas like Eldrazi is on the lower end now as well. But again, that's still one that you could expect to see. But like the control decks, we played like Grixis and the 5-color one. That's kind of a little bit out there for the meta right now. Like the only control deck you see people playing really is Jeskai, and it has a terrible matchup against pretty much everything apart from Karnforge. So I don't think it's a very good deck right now. So like the whole format is combo at the moment. It's like 2/3 of the decks in the top 15 are combo decks. And that's kind of why I was hedging this way, and it just didn't really work out like that for us today. But I hope you enjoyed this one. It was a fun, very festive one. We got lots of snow-covered plains in here. We did get to showcase the power of Solemnity as a saga, as well as our nice big Dark Depths plan too. All right. Thank you so much for joining me on this one. Please remember to like and subscribe so you get to see all of the Dark Depths content that is coming your way with the rest of Depthcember. Once again, thank you for watching. Goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.